Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion on AI for social good. We are thrilled to have you join us today to explore the transformative power of artificial intelligence in addressing some of the most pressing social challenges of our time. This panel discussion is part of Google Cloud AI for Impact APAC Hackathon powered by Hack to Skill. I'm Uzma and I'll be your host for today. So, before we start the session, I would like to give you a brief overview about the hackathon. AI for Impact Hackathon is a unique opportunity to collaborate, innovate, and create groundbreaking solutions using AI to address pressing social challenges across the APAC region. By utilizing Google's Gen AI tools like Gemma, Gemini, and Gemini Code Assist, you have the chance to create innovative solutions that can drive meaningful change and improve lives. So, whether you're a developer, a freelancer, or an IT practitioner based in the APAC region, we encourage you to join and build a better tomorrow with AI. This is the timeline for the hackathon, and we are currently in the registration and idea submission phase. And this is what you need to know. It's pretty simple. First step is to register yourself, and then you need to form a team, which can be of up to 4 people. After that, you need to submit your idea. The deadline for registration and idea submission is November 17th. So don't miss out. It's a very good opportunity, and you'll see why. By the end of November, we'll announce the initial shortlisted teams who will move on to the prototype phase, and then we have the grand finale in the later half of December. I said it's a great opportunity, and here's why. We've got some amazing rewards lined up. The top teams will share a cash pool prize of 20,000 USD, and the real win is the chance to be mentored by some of the best minds at Google Cloud. The winning teams will receive exclusive feedback from Google for Startups team, plus certificates of recognition for all the top teams with valid idea submissions. And that's not all. The winners will also have a chance to present their solutions at a Google event. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to network with like minded individuals and gain hands on experience with Google Cloud's AI tools through specialized workshops. It's all about creating impact and getting recognized for it. Since this hackathon is all about creating a positive impact, we have curated several themes for you to choose from. These include empowering healthcare workers, forecasting natural disasters, creating a greener world, tech for better education, helping people with disabilities, transforming public service, and solutions for community empowerment. But if you've noticed any other pressing social challenges that you are passionate about solving, please feel free to select the Open Innovation in Social Good theme and submit a solution under that. We are excited to see the solutions that you come up with. Now, let me introduce you to our esteemed panelists. First, we have Mr. Rajiv Williams, advisor and consultant CSR at NIIT Foundation. Next, we have Mr. Shubham Prakash, the founder and CEO of WeDoGood. We also have Ms. Lakshita Vohra, the Corporate Social Responsibility Associate at Stanley Black and Decker. Next, we have Mr. Prashanth Subrahmanyam, Head of Cloud Developer Advocacy at Google. Joining us today is also Mr. Akshay Joshi, the CSR and Sustainability Lead at Danone. Now, to lead our discussion, I'm excited to introduce Mr. Vijetha Shastry, an incredible business advisor who has a track record of fostering innovation and social entrepreneurship. With that, I'll hand over the stage to Vijetha to lead the discussion. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you very much, Usma, for this gracious, setting up. And I must say that I'm really impressed with the way that you have managed this hackathon. And I'm sure the students will definitely benefit from it because there's also very good prize money. Though that's not the only thing that we should say is great about this. But yes, AI has been a buzzword for many reasons, good and bad, but it is definitely something that is going to make a difference in all our lives. I'm sure that's something that we should not forget. And yes, keeping that in mind, what we will be doing in this in this conversation is to make sure that all of us have enough time during the discussion, and it will definitely be a conversation rather than a one-sided aspect of it. And we want to make sure that each and every one here who's in the audience will also get a very, very good overview of what is happening in the world of AI. And of course, Uzma, as you said, we should also make sure that we give enough time for the audience to interact with us. So with that, I would like to kickstart with Lakshita, asking you a very specific question, that how will artificial intelligence and all the various tools that are there whether it is the biggest names who are working on this. Also, how can it really help the marginalized communities? Because for them, getting access to this information, resources, and opportunities will not be easy. So, keeping that in mind, Lakshita, what are your thought processor on that? How can AI actually empower marginalized communities? Please, over to you.
Correct. Thank you, Vijetha. Thank you, Isma, for this wonderful session. So, Vijetha, this is a very unique question, and I think while we are a part of society, and while we have all seen the COVID-19 and all the mishappenings that have happened, it is important to understand two things first. What is marginalized community actually is, right? When we think about a community, we feel that whoever doesn't have resources only categorized as a marginalized community, but that's not the case. So marginalized community means all those people, of course, who lack resources, who are below poverty line, who who are of different caste, who are especially people from different color, right? So this community is a very vast community, and they do not have, the problem is not just about lack of resources, the problem is also about the agency. So I feel that artificial intelligence, and I've also seen from the works that various NGOs do, I will name some of them in the coming in the coming time, that artificial intelligence can actually penetrate the rural parts of the country, not just the urban but the rural. Now how can it do that? So there are three approaches I feel which are very important. One is definitely to increase the agency part of the people who are living in the villages. So whenever we feel that okay, there is a mobile phone, okay, as a student, okay, so I'm assuming my crowd is majorly student. So we feel that by creating a product, we can develop a we can penetrate into the right people and create a good solution. But it's not always the product that wins, but it's also the people who are using the product. So you would also have to understand the socio-economic background and the dynamics of the people who are living there. That means you should know what kind of agency to have. Now, how do you create agency? You create agency by making them aware. So awareness is the second part. Now, how do you create awareness? So technology is one of the way to create awareness, and the other is, of course, educating people on how to use that technology. That means skilling is the other way. Skilling about other skilling about how to use the technology, skilling about various welfare programs, right? And the third and the most important thing is action. So action, while you know now what is agency, so not many people, so we practice the word agency very colloquially, right? That okay, this is my right, I can practice it. Okay, I know that there is a welfare scheme for me, but I do not know how to access it, right? So first thing is having the knowledge of it, then having the mindset to use it, and then act for it. Now coming to the example as to how artificial intelligence can do it, I feel, so I'll give an example of there's a social enterprise called Hak Darshak. Okay, so what Hak Darshak is doing is they were also featured on Shark Tank. So last year. So what they are doing is uh, they're creating a mobile app through which through which they are going to all the villages of the country. They are making that, so we were all aware that there are various public welfare schemes as well as there are private welfare schemes, which are there and which are available for the people, but people do not know how to access it, or even if they don't know how to access it, they lack awareness into filling that application form. And in some places people do not have the money to make their Aadhaar cards and PAN cards, which actually give them the access to make. So what they're doing is they're building that app through their technology. They are doing capacity building of the people on the ground, as well as they are creating village solopreneurs. That means they are creating people from those villages who will be training the people in their villages on how to use that app. So what are they doing there is they are bridging that resource problem here. They are creating more accessibility. They are making people their own masters, right? So once people have
Yeah,
the rational to
exactly, exactly.
use their to make their Aadhaar card, they can fill their application form, so they can apply for that welfare scheme, and they can
Correct.
also earn by it, right? So that means they're
Understood.
not, yeah, that's, so that I feel
Yeah,
is a very
Hagdarshak, I think you're very right, Lakshita. Hagdarshak, I think, has made a big impact, and your insights would be very useful. This is really amazing, and I think this will also help our students and audiences as they're building their solutions. They should keep this in mind. Giving access, going right down to the smaller towns, villages, is what you're advocating as being very important. And the way you define marginalized communities is excellent. So thank you so much, Lakshita. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to move on to you, Rajiv. If you do, and we want to very specifically understand from you that as large corporates and companies actually design their CSR initiatives, which will address the key social challenges, which could be around, say, improving access to healthcare, to education. How exactly do you make sure that this not really drives long-term community development? How do you measure it? What is the thought processes that you all would say you all should keep in mind when you design the CSR initiatives so that it actually makes an impact in the long term? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Risha. Firstly, thank you very much for inviting me again on this particular session. And it's interesting when you talk about how corporates design. If you have a look at what the investments, I won't say the spend on CSR over the last couple of years has been, is focusing on just these two areas which you just mentioned. One is education, including for the differently abled and for the livelihood generation. And secondly, of course, is to do with health and sanitation. Former was 44% and 29% of the entire CSR investment was in these two areas. And if we actually have a look as to how corporates are getting involved in focusing on these two very specific verticals of carrying out their own investments. The why part is that many of us just feel good, unfortunately. Without doing the baseline survey, you got to understand that. And the baseline survey, and that's the first start point of what a corporate needs to do as far as corporate social responsibility investments are concerned. And then move on to the getting right partners. Now, where our students and wherever, of course, you'll have logged in from, have to pitch in is to understand the baseline survey itself. The AI piece can definitely be of great help and great importance. And if we say for the community is concerned, for the extractive industry, for the manufacturing industry, it's focused around the plant locations. Wherever the factories are, that's priority one. And then you move on along the supply chain and other areas. Unlike, of course, if you're a service industry, you have pan India, you can go wherever you feel like. So focus firstly as to which sectors you want to go, which geographies you want to work on, and then develop a project because it's going to be different for different industries. I was with Jindal Steel, Jindal Stainless, for many years, and my knowledge base obviously was focused around the stainless steel plants or the steel plants and what is required to be done with the communities. And therefore, when we started the CSR in India, I was part of that conversation right from the very beginning of leaving the army. And I realized that, the baseline has thrown up options of working essentially on making sure that its migration is reduced, which means that you have to build capacity, skill training, and doing all those projects around education. Education not only for educating people for your employment in your own companies or in other companies in the same sector, but use those skills even for the farming industry. You use the technology that is available today. And at that AI wasn't so big. AI was hardly anything, but it was important. Even the various WhatsApp algorithms that you worked on for monitoring and evaluating. Today, it's AI. Today, people are using it for monitoring and evaluation in a very big way. So it's, of course, to not be used as a tool only for educating, but also for monitoring. So use it as a time frame that you're looking at to make sure that whatever investment that you're doing in the project selection, whether it's education, healthcare, or be it on any other women empowerment or welfare measures or environment and animal welfare, conservation and resources, whatever you want, whichever area you got. But these are two big chunks that I talked about in the beginning. So when you're talking about AI, please work on from the bottom of the pyramid, the investment required in the right projects, not because it is a fashion or it's a good thing to do is to invest only in education and healthcare. There are many other areas. Art and culture. business and human rights. There are issues which are focusing, which people don't even talk about, don't want to talk about. I was at a conference the other day in business and human rights itself, and people want to, of course, make sure that the right of education, rights of health, right of everything is part of business and human rights. You can develop an AI tool just to measure what is the impact that is being made along this vertical of business and human rights around all the core areas of your functionalities. The next thing I would like to share is you've got to understand that you are going to scale, and you can't go to scale with just the government, with just the corporate. Scale comes with the government programs. So partnership with the government, and therefore also keep seeing as to what are the government's opportunities where you can partner. The corporates are partnering with them on a PPP model, but how your tool, how your like Superhuman Race is one of our partners in Jindal. They many years earlier we started working on actually developing a dashboard of assessing what is the outcome of the farming community in Orissa, sitting in Delhi or sitting in some other geography, but you know exactly what has been the impact. Today's robotics, that's AI. Use it for agriculture purposes. So there is a plethora of activities that you can invest accordingly and work towards making sure the communities are benefited by using AI as a technology, as a tool, and not become and difficult to understand. Make it simple, make it right, and get it right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. I think it's come from the heart. A lot of knowledge and a lot of passion is what I'm hearing from you. So thank you for that. Makes a lot of sense. Don't just look at the normal education or healthcare. It is important, but there are so many other areas where the AI can contribute and solutions can be built using technology. Fantastic, Rajiv. That's really nice. Now I would like to move to Akshay with your permission of Akshay, of course. And the very simple question is that look, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of conversations, there's a lot of data that keeps coming out, but what can be done to focus on two very important things, right? What can artificial intelligence do to optimize energy consumption, considering that fact that even now we are burning mostly fossil fuels and coal, etc., etc. Energy consumption and how to optimize it is something that AI can be a brilliant game changer. And of course, everyone is talking about reducing the carbon emissions because it is creating a problem in the environment. We are all suffering because of that. So keeping this very, very specific thing, AI that can optimize energy consumption and how can it reduce carbon emissions. Akshay, over to you, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good evening, all. So, specific to this very precise question, we always have a lot of big talks on the carbon emission sustainability. So, usually we see there is a water tank which is getting overflow. There is a AC still remain on for hours and hours. Nobody's sitting in that room. Lights are on, street lights are on. We just think that, oh, energy waste ho raha hai. But have you ever thought how much of unit got wasted? Now we get usually notification on our phone pay or Google Pay that this much of amount is our monthly electricity bill. But AI can be a game changer which can tell us that this much of units that we have consumed for a month. And then maybe similar to the bank account, we can monitor our energy at an individual level. Because when we are thinking or when we are talking about the policy level part, we need to think also at the individual level part. Similarly, mapping of our BMI for our health, we need to map our energy consumption. Maybe this concept can be, very strange. It seems like very strange. But how much is exactly my carbon footprint at individual level? This starts from here. So, for example, if my house is like one room kitchen, one bedroom kitchen, 1 BHK, 2 BHK, first of all, I need to map what are the equipments, and there exactly AI can help me. Because just try to imagine I'm traveling, I forgot to switch off my lights, and my mobile, I got a notification on my app that these are the lights which are not in use, and you can switch it off from here. Just imagine, at least 1 unit, 2 unit, electricity can be saved. I'm I'm trying to explain this concept at very basic level, because sustainability, carbon emission, these are very big and higher level topics. But at an individual level, if we try to save the energy, it can be a big game changer. So, whenever we are thinking about the energy part, so factories consume a lot of energy. So sometimes there are machines which are having a high intensity energy, but sometimes productivity is very lesser. So at the factory level, we need to use submetering part where we can map what are the machines which are consuming high energy. There exactly we can do some precise intervention. Similarly, for example, we are talking about electricity. Now we can talk about water also. So for example, there are a lot of bigger pipelines, long distance pipelines, and maybe the municipality or any particular authority get notification on their app or website that this particular location with longitude and latitude having a leakage. Just imagine how much of water we can save. So this kind of AI interventions are required at this level, and definitely, as we can see, a lot of changes are there within a 4 to 5 years, within a 3 to 4 years after COVID. Definitely, these things can help us. And at the last point, we have a lot of agriculture land, and definitely we use a lot of water and energy over there. So maybe applications for farmers definitely can help us. Yeah, Vijetha.
Thank you very much, Akshay. That makes a lot of sense. And it's not just about India, right? There are so many other countries also and societies that are struggling with the availability of power. And I think this is very nice. No? You're actually removing human behavior and human mistakes. So AI can actually help us in water and electricity, power consumptions, etc. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, Shubham, I would like to move across to you and a very specific question because very pertaining to India as well, where we struggle with healthcare professionals not being there in remote areas, in villages, etc. So, keeping that in mind, how can artificial intelligence and the technology help to address the shortage of healthcare professionals? Because India is a very diverse country. It's hamlets and villages and tier two, tier three towns where the healthcare professionals, hospitals are not there. So, can you throw some light on this very specifically, Shubham? Thank you so much. Over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Vijetha, right, for the question. Right. So generally, reaching out for help in remote areas has been a concept which has been existing for long, right? Like it's called telehealth. However, there have been a lot of challenges in general to reach out to remote areas, right? Like so, in telehealth, mainly there are 4 or 5 concepts that come in, right? Like first is if there are doctors not present, can I do the regular visits virtually where I can talk to a person and they are able to diagnose us like what is there. Second is any remote kind of monitoring where let's suppose there are less staffs who can actually monitor like nurses and all that in general itself, right? And then there are advanced surgeries and all that in general, right? Like where there are not enough infrastructure and all, right? Like so if you see, right, like so these all three things are dependent a lot on infrastructure in general, right? Like where you need good quality cameras, where you need good quality sensors and all that which can actually detect and figure out these things. What I feel is that AI is a great tool which can enable either creating these things better or utilizing the existing infrastructure in a better way itself, right? Like so I think there have been a lot of like case studies already on identifying patterns from images in the healthcare sector which even experienced doctors are not able to like kind of gather, right? Like so if AI is actually trained a lot on remote based images and not just high quality images, it can eventually start giving you results on those lines where like even the images which are probably not of best quality can help develop certain things in general, right? Like so what I feel is that AI can be a great tool where it can be trained regularly on the data that is being received via the telehealth services existing in the country right now. And it's not just a question for India, right? Like it's I think a concern for all mostly underdeveloped or developing nations in general itself, right? Like so you can try to identify data, and I think that is going to be the biggest challenge, right? Like how do you collect data, and post that I think training the model with the right set of things is going to be important, post which AI can definitely start helping, and I definitely look forward to that piece itself. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shubham. So you are seeing a very positive future is number one. And number two is that, yes, it can make an impact and it can create a lot of positive aspects for the people across the country. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shubham. And now I would like to move into Prashanth, and where we will be, wanting to hear from you and your insights. How can artificial intelligence actually personalize learning experiences and improve the educational outcomes? Because we always hear this, right? One, the corporates will say that students are coming, they're not ready. Now, then students are saying that whatever is education system right now, what is being taught, it's too backward and it's not helping in us in the real world. So keeping that in mind, Prashant, what would be your take on this? What could be your specific inputs, learning experiences and improving educational outcomes? Over to you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vijetha. So I think I just want to start with what Mr. Rajiv said in his answer, right? So in his thoughts, he mentioned this thing very important, that AI should not be used because it's fashionable, but it should be used for the right purposes, right? And to create an impact. So let's start from there, right? So before we think about AI, education, personalized education, and so on, what is the current situation, right? Or what is the pre-AI situation? Because AI is sort of being already used right now. I think one thing is important. Education is a fundamental human right, right? All of us need to be given access to education. And every individual should seek to keep learning and keep growing themselves to the best of their ability, right? So what is needed for this? First thing is, we need access to learning resources and information. Now, this is where internet has already helped. Internet has democratized the access to learning. There are so many courses that are published on the internet. There is more being created daily. Universities like MIT, Stanford have put their course content online, right? And recordings of these are available in the public domain. And even if there are students that don't have means to access or means to join these institutions, they have access to the learnings from this. So information is now available, right? But the second important piece of education is consuming this information. And here the important piece is the student. You have access to information, but every student needs to be able to consume this, understand this information, and be able to utilize it. And this differs from one student to other student. Every student has a different style of learning, right? And there are different ways of learning that works best for each particular student. And this is where AI. So AI is absolutely transforming this whole personalization aspect of learning, right? AI is being used to actually adapt to individual students' needs and style of learning. Some folks may like a visual way of learning, some people may like an audio style of learning, and many of them do like a combination of this. So if internet has democratized the access to information, AI has a potential today to democratize the method in which this information is consumed. So how is it being used, right? So one is, it's being used to create a personalized content delivery plan, right? You have this information that's available. How do you, in a structured way, in a personalized way, give access to the students this information? AI is being used to provide real-time feedback to the students, right? Give a course module, ask some questions, and it's not just students, right? I use AI a lot myself to learn as a professional. So as a learner, it is able to evaluate how am I learning, am I making good progress, adjust the difficulty of the course content based on how I'm adapting or how I'm responding to these questions, right? So it's able to give me real-time feedback, and it's able to judge the students' progress and performance. AI is also being used to emphasize areas. So it's not a one-size-fits-all, right? You can emphasize areas where the learner or the student is lagging or struggling, provide additional information there and make them learn better. The students can also learn at their own pace, right? You pick module 1, 3, 5 or 1, 2, 3 or however you want. You can learn at your own pace, take your own time, and digest this information in a very nice way. And AI is able to help out all this. So this is from a student point of view, right? But think about this from the educator's point of view, right? From the person who's creating the course, from the teacher. They don't need to create these different ways of distributing information. They are able to create one single authoritative source of information and provide it to an AI. The AI is now able to take the single source and build out the information in a way that any kind of student will find useful and can consume, right? So we are able to scale out the educators as well here. adding images, adding text. You see a lot of these AI that is being used today. In addition to this, what the student has questions to ask. So we can use AI to build chatbots. Again, it's grounded by the source of information that is being created, but AI can be used to build chatbots that is able to give students 24/7 access, right? Anytime you have a question, anytime you want a clarification, there's nobody to judge you. AI, the chatbots are there to give this information and help the student along. So this makes it extremely powerful. Few facts, right? So we have seen that there is about a 30% improvement in the academic performance of students that are using AI to augment their learning. We are also seeing that 70% increase in engagement of these students, right? Given the same course content, when there's AI involved, there's a very high increase in engagement. But most importantly, AI is being used to identify the students who are at a risk of falling behind, right? So that you can intervene and provide them timely support and guidance, right? And by a human. So AI is able to judge this and give the right kind of intervention and feedback. And ultimately, all of this is the way that you can get to a better outcome for these learners. So to summarize, right, you can create content that scales, dependent on the creating of this content by the educators. You can create content that scales with pretty low amount of cost. The content is personalized to the students, and this can be adjusted in real time, right, based on the feedback that you're getting to the students and how they learn.
Perfect. And Prashanth, of course, I think what is happening now is everyone has become a student or a learner, right? Even this hackathon is open to working professionals, to startups, all in corporates also. People are talking about upskilling, reskilling, and understanding the artificial intelligence scenarios much better. So, but fantastic inputs, Prashant. Really appreciate this. Now I will circle back to you, Lakshita, and a very specific question that in India, unfortunately, we do have a lot of natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, etc. That's something that has been hitting us very regularly, unfortunately. So, keeping that in mind, and in your experience and in your understanding, how can artificial intelligence actually improve our ability to predict and respond to any of these kind of natural disasters? And of course, for the people who are applying for this AI hackathon and building their solutions, keep in mind that this is something that needs a lot of attention, and even the government is interested. So please, Lakshita, over to you.
Correct. Thank you, Vijetha. So I think first thing is very important that artificial intelligence plays a very important role in collecting data, right? So that means whatever calamities are happening, that information is not just to be collected, but it also has to be organized in a very right manner. Then there is another thing that from my knowledge, that processing this large amount of data to predict, so collecting data, analyzing the past behaviors, and then predicting something and assessing that what's going to happen in the future, there the artificial intelligence has a huge role to play. So just to give you an example, I read somewhere that there was an earthquake in Nepal, right? And so one thing is either you do the predictions about nature and environment through satellite images, right? Or you do it through 3D images or the other thing, right? So they created drones, and they did scanning of that particular area through that HD drones that could actually inspect that particular area in a real time manner. And so though earthquake happened at that particular time, but the future occurrence of it could have been more worse than what had happened, right? So that drone actually captured that particular area in such a way that it helped people in mitigating the future risks, right? So when we think about analyzing the geospatial issues or doing some mitigation strategies, it is the role of artificial intelligence, as well as people who are, I would highly advise anybody who is working on this particular problem to not just think from the lens of technology interventions, but to also think from the lens of the people who are residing there, right? How would you educate somebody to take mitigative actions? The traditional knowledge plus the technological intervention through AI is something I would advise for.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lakshita. That makes a lot of sense. And now I would like to move to you, Mr. Rajiv. Very specifically, we would like to understand from you, considering the fact that there is a lot of CSR activities, but how can the technology and tools of artificial intelligence be used to actually enhance the transparency and accountability, and also to just make sure that the companies will continue meeting their social and environmental promises? So, what would be your inputs on this for the people out here? So I think you're muted, Rajiv ji. If you don't mind, just check your camera, mic, unmute yourself.
Are you
Yes,
okay
perfect.
now? Yep.
Go for it,
Thank you.
boss. Yes.
Cool. Those two aspects of transparency and accountability in CSR is critical. All of us come up with beautiful reports. All of us come up with sustainability reports, impact assessments being done by supposedly third party. But if you are a conscious corporate, you want to see that, things are actually being reported which are correct. That's where AI plays in. That's where AI can come in when on the MD's dashboard, you can see everything that is there actually on the ground that is happening, and not just because only the reports are emerging. That's the first step as far as a good governance structure is concerned. And people are getting more excited about it now. As I mentioned to you, we started almost about 8 years ago. 8 years, much before this talk about AI, etc. It was in the form of an AI only, but not what AI is being meant today. And you know what my friend just mentioned about the Prashanth? It should be a tool. And I reinforce that point. It is an assistive technology which must be kept in mind rather than keeping it in the at the level when we feel that everything can be worked out only by AI. AI is an assistive technology. It is a part and parcel of improving, besides education, all other areas. And that will make you a better corporate. That will make you a better um, uh, investor into corporate social responsibility. I don't use the word spender, investor, investments. Because when your markets are looking at what you're doing on issues relating to your social responsibility, the ESG factor, the second S, the second acronym S, what are you doing towards that? It's not only the environment, which is important, carbon mitigation, what steps you've taken, and that's more to do with your business. That's the difference between ESG frameworks that you have and when we are talking about the CSR framework. Both are relevant. And if we talk about these reporting structures, whether it is all the latest reporting that have been, SEBI has been improving from 500 top companies to 1,000 companies, and tomorrow will be 2,000 companies and beyond, we've got to be correct in what we are reporting. We've got to understand that जो भी हम report करते हैं, it has to be actually on the ground. I've been seeing these reports, let me tell you, for such a long time, much before this piece came into being. But if I may openly say that they were not correct reports. That's why third assessment parties came into being. And third party assessment does not only mean the top four, the big four, that you hire ENYs and the KPMGs and the Deloittes of the world of PwC, and then you see that how things will very well be presented as a report which is required to be read by your markets in Europe and in the US. Today, let me tell you, after the OECD guidelines have taken shape, the Frank Dodd Act regarding conflict minerals, what you are doing is being watched. So those, I would say, our students or the students or all those who have logged in, please understand, read through, and then pitch for a particular project of yours, and that will sail through. If you are pitching for something which is only on reporting standards and only not truly having a transparent mechanism in place, or the factor of accountability is being on a cursory level, then I think it's time for you to be very forceful about it, that this is the takeaway that I expect from my intervention. And if we do that, you will be successful, especially today. Because today the corporates are looking differently. They are not the usual corporates which used to be interested in only the philanthropic interventions. Today it is sustainable interventions. And ESG is overtaking by leaps and bounds, where businesses are understanding the meaning of all the three acronyms of environment, social, and governance. And if we keep that, then accountability factor is at a very high level. And therefore, I would encourage you to come up with tools which will help in the governance piece of social development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. I think it makes a lot of sense. And of course, this AI for Good hackathon is open for everyone. There are going to be students, working professionals, and even startups. So, your words of wisdom, your nuggets of how they can actually focus, incorporate ESG goals, etc. I think it will make a tremendous value proposition for them to work on. Thank you for that, Rajiv. And now I would love to move to Akshay. And Akshay, we have to also incorporate a question. I don't know how that will be possible. They were asking that how can human beings actually change their behavior towards reducing energy consumption using AI. Maybe you can think about that and mull over it. But at the same time, another very specific question that we would like to understand your views on is how can artificial intelligence contribute to very critical aspects that we need now, right now, sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, and all the climate change mitigation that's happening. And we are, this is not just buzzwords or some vague theories. We are actually seeing requirement on all these aspects. So keeping that in mind, and of course I would just like to remind everyone that we don't have too much of time. What would be your crisp overview on this, Akshay? Go for it.
Yeah, Vijetha, thanks. So, AI can be again a game changer in tracking deforestation. So, when we are talking about the agricultural land, because land utilization and land using pattern has been changed drastically. So, we need to understand how AI can contribute to track the deforestation land as well as the changing agricultural pattern of the land. Then it will directly lead to the overall CO2 sequestration naturally by the forest and the food production availability. So these are the very two critical part which can be tracked as well as monitored by the AI. This is first part. Second major part, we cannot forget about it, changing monsoon pattern. There are a lot of changes in rain patterns. So that's why AI can be a very important and crucial tool where our farmers can get notification, get updates, what are the changing patterns of the rain. So accordingly, investment can be saved. Accordingly, resources can be saved and it can be used very efficiently. Aco- Along with that, there are some insects or maybe the pest outbreaks are there. So farmer will get help about the pest outbreak information, what kind of tools they can use to save the crops. So that's why AI will be one of the major component for the overall this part. And just to answer the question, so currently we need to invest more on the behavioral part for the energy consumption, because when thing is about the investment in the energy consumption, it will require a bigger investment. So when the individual level behavioral pattern will get changed, it will automatically lead to the energy saving part. But yeah, of course, if a person is ready to invest a small 2 kilowatt or 3 kilowatt solar panel at the home, definitely that person can invest into that. But looking at the availability of resources, changing technology, now better we need to update or aware people on the behavioral part, how we can save the energy and how we can utilize the resources. Yeah, thanks,
Thank you
Vijay.
very much, Akshay. This is of tremendous value. And now, Shubham, I would like to move on to you. And this is something that is, of course, something more on humanity part of view, right? Because we do have people here who are struggling, say, with sensory impairments, motor disabilities, cognitive challenges. So, keeping that in mind, and in your experience, expertise, and knowledge, what can AI be deployed to develop innovative solutions for individuals? And this would actually obviously make their life so much more better and make them feel so good. So, what is your take on this, Shubham?
Sure. Thanks, Vijetha. Right. Like, so one of the things, like most of the solutions that have been developed in this space, right? Like, it is all about enabling, like, I think the people who are actually not able to, like, function regularly, right? Like, they are specially abled and all that. However, the integration with normal life is something which is still like a bit hard, right? Like, think about people who are not able to speak, right? Like they might know sign languages, but how many of the people actually know sign language in general, right? Like, so AI as a tool can be leveraged to kind of map between these with regular people itself. Just to give an example, I was earlier looking over some of the solutions that have been developed by people, and I found that someone is developing a like a glove kind of a thing where you try to do certain sign languages, it spells that particular word using that itself, right? Like, so now if you see, sign language can be taught to people who are not able to speak, but that can be easily translated to folks who don't know sign languages and are able to do that, right? Similarly, if like let's suppose someone is visually impaired and they want to travel on themselves, right? They still need someone to kind of support them. Like the current sticks and all can maximum tell you that okay, whether there is something in front or not. But using AI, like using the current infrastructure that is there, just in terms of cameras and all that, right? AI can actually analyze their surroundings and can inform that okay, what is there in front, what is not there, and give better like instructions as part of it in general, right? Like, so what I feel is that there are a lot of opportunities of developing innovative solution that can not just help them like be like function accordingly, but also help them like merge with or like work across with regular people in general as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That makes a lot of sense. Now I would like to move to Prashanth. Okay, Prashanth, considering the fact that again we have a lot of challenges in our country and everything, but what are the things that you feel in your expertise that we can do on very specific aspects, which is around the thing that we have people who want to work on like a lot of things, but when you keep in mind the fact that it's whether it is like agriculture we spoke about, human beings we spoke about, but education ultimately we are seeing a gap, we are seeing challenges. So Prashant, what do you think will make a big difference, and how do you monitor this? How do you make sure that we talked about communities that may not get into this immediately, or they can't reach to people, or the fact that India has a challenge that technology is a problem but we can reach it using certain artificial intelligence tools. So what do you feel, and what are the things that you are specifically doing in your domain working on these things? So, for example, I'm telling you that quality education, digital divide are buzzwords. But do you think that something can actually be done about this to bridge the gap?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think this is a great thought, right? So I was thinking as we were discussing this, there are so many ideas and so many things that we have been thinking about that we plan to do, right? And again, this could be one, education, access to education, enabling education through AI. That is one thing, but also some of these features and capabilities that we are building, which ultimately have to be consumed by somebody, right? And you mentioned digital divide, right? So what does this mean? Um, One of the most important things for folks to be able to access this information or features or capabilities is technology and internet, right? Most of these things that we do is this is the way that it's going to be consumed, it's going to be accessed. And those that have access to this technology and have access to good internet are able to utilize all of these capabilities, while those that don't are going to be left further and further behind, right? And Lakshita mentioned about this marginalized communities, right? And again, this is something, right? What if they don't have access to any of these capabilities that we're building on? What do we do about it? So this is something I really would encourage the folks participating in this hackathon, right? Think about this. This is not just for the elite. This is not just for the folks who have access. What can we build? As responsible technologists, we need to think about this segment very seriously and see how we can make this information and capability accessible to those that don't have these technological means. Now, what are the challenges essentially? Right? Again, I always step back to see what the problem is, and then we try to solve it. So if you look at it, from data that I've read, internet penetration in India is at about 55%. Right? That's half of India. This means that over 700 million citizens are living in what we call digital darkness. Okay? How can they get access to this information and capability? It may be powered by AI, but if they don't get access to this, there is no point. Another important thing that you mentioned, and this is something that was previously discussed by Shubham as well, in the sense, there are a lot of barriers, right? So we spoke about maybe some impairments, but there's also this cultural and language barrier which creates this divide in adopting technology. Most of the, if we're just talking about education, most of the content that we have available is in English. How does somebody from a remote village, even if they have mobile and internet, how can they even understand this? How are they able to consume it? But we also have a silver lining. 78% of the population in India has a mobile connection today. And APAC in general, South Asia is doing really well in terms of mobile connections, right? APAC is one of the leaders in adopting AI and building the solutions out. So again, going back to some of these things, making this AI, making these capabilities, making these features accessible through other mechanisms, right? So one of the things, for example, is audio-based solutions. AI is doing really well in this. We can implement voice bots. We can implement audio conversational interfaces. Those that don't have internet, if they're able to call a toll-free number and get access to information, right, powered by AI on the other side, this is something that can really help the population that is not yet literate, or even it can help this population, in their own region and their local languages. So first thing to think about as you're building these solutions is to think about how you can speech enable them, right? How can you make them accessible to folks with very low internet or even no internet, right? Through audio means. We spoke about the impairments that you have. What if somebody's vision impaired? Again, speech is able to help them out, right? So it's not just visual way, a chat bot and those kind of things, in terms of text. Having it available through speech interfaces can really help folks. The other thing that we need to think about to bridge this digital divide is in terms of localization. So AI can, translate content into local languages again at scale without needing expensive translation services and so on. You can even make your content culturally acceptable. So, for example, in education, and you asked for some examples, right? So there is this product that we have built that Google has put out there. It used to be called Seek. I think it's called Read something right now. I need to come back on that. But essentially, what this does is it uses folklore, it uses local, stories, and makes some of this technology, makes some of these aspects relatable to people, right? So you're not just talking about something that happened in the US. You're talking about something, talking about folk tales and using that in order to build this kind of a relationship and build, explain certain things. So these are some things that you can really use AI to do, right? And again, to this audience, what I would like to encourage is look at mobile first solutions, right? If you can build something like this, voice first, mobile first, we will be able to penetrate into this large population that doesn't have access to this in South Asia and India. And one of the things, again, if you look at this product called Notebook LM, Notebook LM is a product that has been, really sort of taken the world by storm of late. I have utilized some of these technologies, right? We believe that you have a lot of content. If you're able to disseminate the content in a conversational audio interface, folks are able to understand it better. So that was one of the means. I was on a plane recently, and the planes have very spotty Wi-Fi, very low bandwidth, right? So I was able to, using text, just very easily interact. WhatsApp, there's WhatsApp access. So on WhatsApp, I was able to talk to an AI interface, and there were some thoughts in my mind. I was able to converse with it, ask a question, get some answer back from it, right? Even with very, very low internet. So it is possible, but I think what we need to do as this audience is we need to consciously think about this while building out our solutions. And it is our responsibility, again, it's a moral responsibility for us to enable some of these other communities and not just focus on the folks that have access to this technology.
Sure. Prashanth, if you can also give a very crisp input, very specifically around cyber security. We have been hearing about digital arrests, how people are using fake voices and creating fake personas, etc., etc. But keeping that in mind, what can be done for good? How can AI tools be used to help the cybersecurity aspects? And all the very smart criminals are using very innovative solutions. So, what is it that you, in your experience, or if you know of something, can you talk about that?
Absolutely. No, I think this is sort of, I'm very passionate about this, right? So I get scared, honestly, every time my mom gets an SMS or she gets a phone call, right? Because you never know. I think at least 75% of the calls that even I get today are phishing calls. I know how to deal with them, but I feel really bad when there are folks that are impacted by this. They lose their hard-earned money, especially those in the later stages of life where they don't have a capability to recover this back. Security or cyber security is really, really important. It is something that AI can help in. Because AI, with its capability, with its understanding of these patterns, you're able to build these solutions that can intervene, that can provide guidance to users, right? This seems like a spam call. Do not answer this, or this particular kind of information is being asked for. Then you shouldn't be giving this information. Again, I mentioned 78% or 80% of India has access to mobile phones, which means there is a huge audience that can be fished and that can be put into this hardship. So again, cybersecurity for me is not just about the systems or engineering side of things. Cybersecurity is about how you can prevent the citizens from being impacted by these criminals and these kind of things, social engineering that they're doing. So yeah, I feel AI has a lot of capability here to help out because of these inherent patterns that it understands. We just need to be able to utilize it to build these solutions.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Prashant. That was definitely very, very useful. Now, Lakshita, may I bring you onto the stage, and if you could give us a very crisp example of how CSR, innovation has actually improved healthcare outcomes or access to healthcare. I think this is something very critical, and if you could throw some light on that, it would be of tremendous value. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Vijetha. So, I think Rajiv William sir mentioned that education and health is two of the major domains in which the CSR spending has been huge, right? There are a lot of examples in ways how CSR money has helped in health interventions, but one of the intervention that has really stood out, and what I read was about this Tata Steel Limited. So we all know that that in a lot of rural areas that this maternal health is a huge problem. That women do not know how to take care of themselves. So they launched an initiative called Mansi. Okay, so it was a project named Mansi in which Mansi means making maternal and neonatal health for improvisation for mothers, right? So it caters to two things. One, it understood that there are two problems. One is women who are pregnant, they lack knowledge about the institutional support that is existing, right? That they are not aware of the hospitals in their vicinity. Even if they are aware, they are reluctant to go there, right? And the second was they understood that there is a problem with lack of awareness among women. So to bridge this gap, they actually start training through their CSR. They actually started training ASHA workers in their local livelihood to finally do a door-to-door campaign, which campaign would help those women to understand their maternal health and also provided them support in telling them what to do in case of if you face some problem, right? So that way, what earlier used to, and this exercise was done in West Bengal, Odisha, Jharkhand, in the rural parts of that particular states. So what the findings were such that earlier a lot of the maternal a lot of deaths were happening, but after this intervention, this intervention endorsed by Tata Steel, the health of the mother as well as mortality rate for children decreased, right? So this is one of the examples of the health intervention, that something that stood out. Yeah. So likewise, like I would advise whoever is watching this that whenever you think about doing any of the health intervention, please go to the parts of the country which are actually hidden, and stay there for a while, and then design some problem. Collect your thoughts and then make a solution. Don't think that you can make a problem or identify a solution by sitting in your cubicle, because that would not happen. and that would actually not even give you hands-on pilot, right? So in order to identify the problem, in order to understand the challenges that ASHA workers face, frontline workers face, or the problems that villages, the women in the villages face, or what kind of mortality rates are there, you have to go to those places, stay there for a while, do your field do your field visit, make some notes, collect your thoughts, and then all this technology and everything can be secondary. So understanding the problem should be your first thought. Yeah.
So what you're saying, Lakshita, is they should actually spend time on the ground, go there, visit, do research work, and then they'll be able to use the technology which they understand, but they can understand the real ground realities better. That's very fantastic. I think it's a very valuable input. So amazing. So now we are at 5:08. We have about 7 minutes left into this session. And of course, why we are here, because it's a AI hackathon, AI for good. What can be done for the people who are taking part? There are entrepreneurs, startups, founders, and then of course there are students and there are working professionals. So if each one of you would like to give an input, like how Lakshita gave this thing about, if you really want to understand the problem well, then you can actually build a solution better by being practically going out there. So would there be something that you can talk about? For example, it could be around ESG goals. It could be about using like the methodology of building a solution, or what could be the ways that we talked about so many things, that healthcare, education, natural disasters. So if any one of you can bring in the perspective very crisp, because we would like to bring in as much input as possible over the next 5-6 minutes, and not in any particular order, it can be any one of you. So who would like to go in first?
Yep. I'll take it on, Vijetha, if it's all right, quickly.
Yeah, go for it, boss. Please go for it,
Yeah.
Rajiv.
Yep. I just want to, 4 days ago, what happened? 4 days ago was an anniversary which probably everybody forgot, was the day when demonetization took place on the 8th of November, 4 years ago. Now, that's time, again, if AI was in place, things could have been quite different. And one example that I would like to share here is, for the farmers, we had a program through Gramanati Foundation, and I mean, basically, he's a technology guy himself. So much before AI came into being and much before the announcement of this demonetization came in, he'd already developed a program for the farmers to have everything back-end linkages done. So when this cap took place, the major problems which were hit were with the farmers. They didn't have the cash that is required for even the logistics, or even for buying the seed. And that window was just 2 weeks window to buy the seed and to plant it. Now, many farmers suffered, many people suffered, but many farmers were benefited because of the back-end linkages done by one of our programs. There may have been others also, but I can only vouch for the program that was done through our partner, Gramanati Foundation, for the farmers across the country, wherever up, not across the country, essentially in Orissa, in UP, and Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan. Because they had the bank linkages, that's part of AI today. They'd already put that into place. So there was no challenge that was really faced by the farmers and the poor communities because of this. Second one was ZMQ. ZMQ, another organization which is working on the healthcare. They developed an app which was working for the pregnant women, lactating women. And that's something which, again, I think today we can talk about, that you can grow hugely through AI. But these were some of the interventions that were done much before AI came into being. So I just wanted to just share that it's been going on, but today there's so much more that can be done through AI. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rajiv. Anyone else who would like to chip in, because they also want to win this hackathon? So if you give some practical input, that I think would be tremendous use for these guys. Please.
I can add a little bit, right? Like, so I think how Lakshita also mentioned, right? Like, you first need to look over problems which needs to be solved, right? Like, and I think there have been several attempts at solving these problems. AI is a tool which can help you, like, kind of identify better solutions to it, right? Like, so I think the first way you should look over is to identify a problem and not think from an AI perspective itself, and then think of that, okay, can I leverage AI to, like, speed like improve the efficiency or increase the speed or anything which improves the solution in general. And I think that should be the right way to look at it in general. Yeah, that's all.
I can add one quick thing. We've spoken a lot about solutions, how to think about approaching the solution, how to utilize AI to help help the populace. What we didn't talk about is how you can use AI to help yourself to use AI to help the public, right? AI is an amazing tool that you could use. All of you folks here in listening to this are builders. You're thinking of solutions. You're going to be building this. You don't need to be an expert software engineer or a developer to build these problems, right? I think there were some comments in terms of the idea sounds fine, but how do you actually go and solution it, right? Utilize AI for this. We have AI-based coding assistants that you can use to actually build out applications without even knowing in depth of the technology. Use AI as your sounding board, right? As what we discussed here. Coming up with a problem statement is important. Don't use AI for the sake of using AI, but identify the problems. Now, the solution to the problem is something you can bounce ideas off an AI chatbot, right? Ask AI, this is what I'm thinking. This is the problem. Do you have any ideas? Is there a better approach to doing it? How do you think this would resonate with this kind of a community? Utilize this power of AI, which you have access to, right? We spoke about digital divide. This group here listening has access to this technology. Use it in order to go build out solutions that can help the others that need access to this.
Perfect, Prashant. That's a good one. So if anyone wants to talk about a very practical aspect that they want to use this hackathons to obviously touch and collaborate and work with not-for-profits, with CSR company initiatives, etc., and business people who are looking for solutions on various things, and of course government. So do you think that which are the pressing problems that you think that if they integrate their solutions and showcase something that they can really make an impact on, because it's about AI for impact? Any thought processes on that as quickly as possible, because almost to the end of this. Again, open to everyone, whoever wants to bring in a perspective.
I think one thing that we've already spoken about it, but just to say it again, that see, we a lot of times whoever is starting a startup or defining a problem statement, we feel that funding is the problem. Okay, we write our problem statement with an approach that we need money. Don't know. So that behavioral shift has to happen when you are starting your company, right? Whatever venture you are starting. The other is your whenever we are working on any problem, it might be very general. I'm speaking from a very general perspective because I keep on attending a lot of these events in Bangalore where I keep on meeting these entrepreneurs and everything, VCs. So I feel that people are after technology. The technology is going to be the solution. No, technology is an enabler. So all the students, all the working professionals, you have to understand that whoever you are hiring in your team have an interdisciplinary approach. That means you need to have people who are technology professionals. You need to have people from humanities background. You need to have an interdisciplinary angle to your thought process, so that you understand the dynamic social cultural dynamics of the place where you will be applying your solution, right? And regarding what Vijetha said about approaching to governments and approaching to various CSR. So trust me, I have had interacted with lot of people, more from the corporate side, more from NGO side, less from the government side. But one thing that I have understood across the line is that if your problem is real, right? You may be from a tier 1 city or tier 3 city. If your problem is real and if your solution is actually about the person who's actually facing that problem, right, you will you will be called for. So don't think that it is difficult to approach those people. Don't think it is difficult to win this hackathon. You just have to narrow down the problem you are facing, have a good team, have those 4 people you can count on who can help you with, right, and have that actionable approach, right, and look and keep and see who is the actual person facing that problem. Run more and more pilots, right, and then all the government, all the other stakeholders that you know would, you can approach them and they would reply to you for sure. And yes, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. I think she's frozen, isn't it? I think, yeah. Okay, Lakshita, we got you. Thank you for that. Uzma, we have a couple of
That's
yeah. So, okay, very blunt question, right? How many of you have actually taken part or been jury mentors in the hackathons? and what were some of the things that actually resonated with you? Again, very crisp, because I see Usma will tell us now that we're almost at the end of the time. So again, this is practical for the enthusiasts, to all those who are taking part in the hackathon. Anything that you guys can come out with?
I can add, right? During my college days, in fact, I participated in a hackathon by Google itself. It was a Google developers group. I'm forgetting the name, Code for Good or something like that. During my college, Google visited and all, right? And I supposedly got a prize as well. But those, I think, 2 days were like quite amazing in general. So I would just suggest, like, I think enjoy this time, try to identify solution, and obviously prize is a good thing to look forward to, but also enjoy this time and try to see like if you are able to learn a lot from this as well. So yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you so much. Usma, are we done with our timings, or we have? Yeah.
I think we are done with all the questions also that were given to us in the comments by the audience. So I'll just a second. Yes. So I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to our panelists and to you, Vijetha, for moderating this session. I would also like to thank the entire audience for the active participation and the very thoughtful questions that we got. Today's discussion has highlighted the immense potential of AI to address very critical social issues. And as we move forward, let's continue to explore innovative ways to leverage AI for social good. We invite everyone watching to join the AI for Impact Hackathon and contribute your ideas to a brighter future. And just remember that the deadline to register and submit your ideas is 17th November. So thank you again for joining us, and thank you, panelists, for being here, for taking out the time to contribute to this hackathon and to this event. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Yeah, and wishing everyone who's taking part also all the very best. Do well, do your very best, because it's a great opportunity that has been brought to you by the Google Cloud team and of course the Hack to Skill team. Take care, all the best, and thank you to Lakshita, to Shubham, Akshay who's left, at Prashanth, and everyone that you guys, and Rajiv ji. I enjoyed this conversation and I learned a lot from all of you. Took some notes as well, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.